Good morning, students. Today we are going to start a new poem, or maybe it is the last poem of our syllabus. And this is page number 103 from our book Flamingo. And the name of the poem is Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. Now, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers is actually written by Adrienne Rich, and Adrienne Rich was born in Baltimore, Maryland. Means she was an American, and she was widely known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement. Now, this is very important to understand that what is the meaning of this contemporary word. Contemporary generally means of the present time, means when there was a women's or feministic movement going on in the world, she was also involved in it as a poet and theorist, and she always fought for the rights of women. She had published 19 volumes of poetry, three collections of essays, and other writings also. A strong resistance to racism and militarism echoes through her work. The poet Aunt Jennifer Tigers addresses the constraint of married life of a woman, or maybe the constraints of married life a woman experiences. Now, this line is very, very, very important because this is the basic theme of the poem. What is the basic theme? That how a woman has to go through a lot of hardships, how she has to suffer, how she is oppressed by the male dominated society in this world. So, this Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, this is a poem which actually tells, which actually shows us the constraints. Constraints here means the problems, the troubles, the problems which are faced by a married woman after getting married. Now, what does the title of the poem suggest to you? Are you reminded of other poems on tigers? We have read so many poems on tigers earlier also in different classes, and this is one of them, and maybe one of the best. She says, the poetess says, Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with the ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Now, these lines are very important, and very clearly these three paragraphs mentions a particular idea. And what is that idea? Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. What is the meaning of this word screen? Screen generally means a kind of, you can say, frame or wall. So on a frame, on a cloth, maybe on, you can say, a canvas, Aunt Jennifer has actually created, or maybe she is creating, she is knitting, she is stitching some tigers. So Aunt Jennifer, who is a low old lady, she starts making some tigers, and these tigers are prancing. Prance means they jump. They jump because they are full of energy, they are powerful, they are very, you can say, quick and active. So these tigers, they jump across a screen. Across a screen means because these tigers are actually created and embroidered, they are stitched, they are embroidered by Aunt Jennifer on a piece of cloth, and that is called here as a screen. On a screen, on a piece of cloth, on frame, she had made some, she had created some tigers, but they are called as Aunt Jennifer's tigers. Aunt Jennifer's tigers means there is a metaphor used here. Then she says, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. Now, what is the meaning? Bright means these tigers, they are beautiful. They have a beautiful color. They are yellow colored. They are very bright. They are shiny. And what is the meaning of topaz here? Topaz is actually a yellow precious stone. एक मोती होता है that we generally call in Hindi as this pukhraj, pila pukhraj. So she actually has said, the poetess has imagined that the tigers which were created and embroidered and stitched by Aunt Jennifer on that frame, these tigers, they look very bright, they have bright colors, and at the same time she said that they look like topaz. Topaz means they look like a precious stone, they look like a moti, so, or a gem. So they look like, you can say, they look very beautiful, yellow colored, denizens of a world of green. Now what is the meaning of denizens of a world of green? Denizen here means natives. What is the meaning of native? Native means the residents. So according to and means the poetess Adrienne Rich, she actually has compared these tigers with topaz, and again here she has not used as or like, it means metaphor is used again. So bright topaz means these yellow colored, beautifully you can say colorful tigers, they are compared with yellow precious stones, and they are called as the natives or the residents of a world of green, because their habitat is that green world, that, you can say, wood, or maybe that is a forest. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. Now what is the meaning of this line? They do not fear the men beneath the tree. It means that she also has created a tree, she has embroidered a tree, and underneath a tree there are some men. But these tigers, they are fearless, they are brave, they are not having any kind of, you can say, fear of anybody. So here she actually wanted to tell her own desire to become like these tigers. She also wanted to become fearless, she also wanted to be unafraid of anything like these tigers. That is why she has created a tree. Underneath a tree there were some men, but her tigers, they are not afraid of these men. It means that this was her inner desire to become like these tigers, because she was always you can say suppressed because of the male dominism, because she was actually living in a patriarchal society. What is the meaning of patriarchal? Patriarchal. Patriarchal means a male dominated society, or maybe father dominated society. Because our society is dominated and, you can say, run by males, that is why this was her inner desire, that she wanted to be brave like these tigers, she wanted to be unafraid, she wanted to be fearless like these tigers who do not have any fear of men. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. So she said that they pace. Pace means they run. These tigers, these beautiful, elegant tigers, they jump, they run in sleek. This word is very important. Sleek here means graceful or elegant. Elegant, elegant, graceful, or smooth means they walk, they jump, they run very gracefully. They have their own grace, own elegance. Very elegantly they move. Chivalric certainty. Now, sir word is used here. It means, what is the meaning? CC words. Why these are used? Because this is actually alliteration, because the poetess actually wanted us to read these two words very carefully. Why she wanted our attention? Because chivalric certainty here means that these tigers, they were full of chivalry. What is the meaning of chivalry or chivalric? Brave. So these tigers, they move very elegantly, very gracefully in their bravery. means they are full of bravery. Chivalric, they are brave. And certainty, certainty means they are full of confidence. So these tigers, they don't have any doubt, they are not hesitating, they are brave, they are full of confidence, and they are beautiful, they are graceful, they are elegant, they are smooth, and they can run anywhere. They don't have to ask anybody. Why? Because they are the owners, they are the authority, they are the authority of or in the jungle, in the forest. Then she says, Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. She says that Aunt Jennifer, her fingers fluttering. Now, again, fur sound is being repeated here. It means that this is again what? This is alliteration, because fluttering fingers. And there is another symbol that is used here. Like we had a symbol that is tiger, which actually shows us bravery, fearlessness, or maybe beauty, grace, or maybe dignity, and so many other things were actually shown and represented by a tiger. In the same way, now Aunt Jenny, means the poetess Adrienne Rich, she has said that Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool means Aunt Jennifer has no power in her body. Why? Because she has become old. With the passage of time, with her old age, she got weak, and maybe she is not enthusiastic, she has no energy left in her body, and because of her weakness, her fingers, they are fluttering. Please underline this word fluttering and write down the meaning. Fluttering here means trembling, means they move nervously. Fluttering means nervously, she is very nervous, and in her fear, in her scare, because she is scared of her husband, so she was actually trying to knit. She, knit, knit, she is trying to do the embroidery, or she was knitting something, she was stitching something, but her fingers had no energy, because she lacks energy, because she is unenergetic and not powerful at all, and she is exhausted throughout her life, and she has lost her energy. That is why she has become weak, and she is so weak that she is not able to control the needle, or she is not able to do the stitching properly. And her fingers, they were fluttering, means they were moving nervously, or they were trembling. She was shivering throughout her wool, means with the help of wool she was knitting something, but not able to control it properly. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull. And that is why she has written that even the ivory needle, a very light weight needle, एक सुई या जिसको बोल दो सिलाई, so she is not able to control even that needle properly. Why? Because she lacks energy, because she is timid, because she is nervous, because she is unenergetic. And that is why she was finding it very hard to pull that ivory needle out of the wool. The massive weight of uncle's wedding band. And then she says why she was not able to, you can say, do that knitting or stitching properly, why she was feeling that exhaustiveness, or why she was so unenergetic or so weak, why her fingers were fluttering. Because she actually had that ring, that uncle's wedding band in her finger, on her hand, and this actually sits heavy upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. Means this massive wedding band. Now this is very important. Again, massive. What is the massive means of massive? Massive means heavy. So the weight of the uncle's wedding band. Uncle's wedding band means the ring that was actually given by uncle when they got married. This ring or this wedding band, it actually had become a terrifying moment, or it actually shows a strong tie of marriage. But here it was not a good relationship that Aunt Jennifer was having with her husband. And this uncle's wedding band, this is actually a symbol that shows that she was caught in trouble and she was not able to get herself out of this, you can say, of these hardships or this troublesome marriage or relationship. She actually wanted to get away from the husband, but she couldn't because she was caught under the heaviness, under the weight of uncle's wedding band. And this uncle's wedding band, this is actually a trauma she was going through. This is not a good relationship, this is not a you can say affectionate or lovely relationship that she had got with the uncle, but uncle was actually terrorizing her always, and she had to go through a lot of troubles, and she was dominated by the husband throughout her life. And this uncle's wedding band actually is a symbol which shows the domination of the husband, or by the husband of the wife. And the weight of the uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands, means Aunt Jennifer was not able to move herself properly, and she was terrified, she was submissive, and she was, you can say, she was going through a lot of hardships because of the heaviness, because of, what is the meaning of this line, sits heavily, means she had to go through a lot of burden of domestic duties. She had to, you can say, go through a lot of troubles in her life. Why? Because even though she was old, even though she was now unenergetic, even though she has become weak with the passage of time, she is an old woman, but she could not get herself out of the troubles which actually were created by her husband for her. So she was not able to get herself out of the problems, and she was always dominated by her husband. And that is why the uncle's wedding band represents a lot of hurdles in her life. All these, you can say, this wedding band actually brought a lot of problems for her. Why? Because she had to, you can say, get prepared for conducting a lot of work for her husband, and she had to do a lot of domestic duties. She had to discharge her duties, and these duties were really heavy for her now. She was an old woman, and she could not carry on the work that she was doing for her husband for last so many years. So now this actually, these responsibilities, they have become heavy for her, and she was overpowered and overburdened by these duties which were given to her by her husband. Aunt Jennifer, when aunt is dead, now the last paragraph, this is very important paragraph, because here the poetess, that is Adrienne Rich, she has imagined something. She imagined that maybe one day the aunt would be dead, means the aunt is dead. Her terrified hands will lie still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. But even after the, you can say, this lady's death, even after the death of Aunt Jennifer, her terrified hands will lie. Her hands, HH sound is being repeated here. It means again alliteration is used here. So when her terrified hands will lie still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. What is the meaning? That even when Aunt Jennifer would be dead, even after her death, her terrified hands will lie. Means she would be having terrified hands. Hands cannot be terrified. It means that again, what is used here? Terrified hands. This is a symbol. Okay, and this is again a metaphor. So her hands, they were terrified, and they will lie still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. So Aunt Jenny, generally we cannot have terrified hands. Hands cannot be terrified, but because Aunt Jennifer was so, you can say, she was so fearful of her husband, she was so dominated throughout her life, and she was so weak and unenergetic, and she was so terrorized, and she had to go through a lot of trauma throughout her life, and she was so dominated by the patriarchal society. That is why her hands, even after her death, they would be terrified. Means they would be, what is the meaning of terrified? They would be scared, they would be frightened, वो डरे हुए होंगे हाथ भी, will lie still ringed with ordeals. This line is very important. And what is the meaning of this line, still ringed with ordeals? Means her hands, even after her death, when she would be put inside, you can say, her coffin, when she would be lying in her grave or in the graveyard, she still would be ringed. Ringed means she would be surrounded. What is the meaning of surrounded? Means she would be overpowered by this idea, she would be haunted by the ordeals. What is the meaning of ordeals here? Ordeals means the troubles or maybe hardships. So she would have to face these difficulties even after death. Even after her death, she would be ringed. Ringed means she would be surrounded, and she would be troubled and haunted by these troubles, by these hardships, which she was always mastered by. Mastered by means because she was always controlled by and overpowered by the husband and by the trauma and by the troubles. That is why even after her death, she would never be able to come out of these troubles, and she would always have the idea that even after her death, she would never be getting freedom, because she always aspired, she was always wished to get freedom from her husband, from this patriarchal society, from these hardships, but she never was able to get her freedom or liberty. So even after her death, she would be burdened and overpowered by the domestic duties and domestic chores. chores, chores means दो जो आम काम काज होता है घर का. So she would be mastered by, she would always be troubled by these problems. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. But she said, these tigers who are actually made and created by her, and this shows her desire to become like these tigers. She wanted to be brave, she wanted to be like, you can say, fearless like these tigers, but she could not be. So, even after her death, she would be terrorized, she would be terrified by her husband, and she would be having those ordeals, those hardships in her life even after death. But these tigers, they are fearless and they are not scared of anybody, they are not timid like this woman, and they are brave, they are fearless, they are beautiful, they are elegant. These tigers in the panel means in that, on that frame or wall or on that screen she had made, will go on prancing. But these tigers, they would go on prancing. Prancing means they would go on jumping on that panel, on that frame. These tigers, even after the death of Aunt Jennifer, they would be continuously jumping, and they would be proud and unafraid. Again, pp sound is repeated, prancing and proud. So prancing and proud, again alliteration is used here. And according to the poetess, these tigers, even after the death of Aunt Jennifer, they would be jumping on the screen, and they would be proud of themselves, and they would be unafraid. They are not going to have fear of anybody. They don't fear men like an ordinary woman who is always afraid of male chauvinism, who is always afraid of patriarchal society, who is always, you can say, terrorized by the male members of the society. So this beautiful poem has actually told us that how a woman has to go through a lot of trauma and a lot of hardships throughout her life, and how she actually wanted or wants to become fearless like these tigers, but she never has got this liberty or freedom to live her life like a tiger, because tigers, they are the dwellers, they are the natives or residents of jungle, and they are the authoritarians. They have the authority, they can take their decisions on their own. But this lady and all the ladies, all the women throughout the world, not only in America, but all the women throughout the world, they are not given a chance to have liberty, to have freedom, to live their life as per their own wish. So this is the end of the poem. I hope you would have enjoyed it and listened it carefully. Please keep watching the videos and try to go through this poem yourself. Take some idea, and please understand this carefully. Thank you very much. Stay back home, stay safe.